Hello, everyone. The book of the month for February has just dropped, so I'm going to go through those. It's finally the end of January. Feels like this month has been a year already, but hopefully February is better. But the first option, they do have 7 books as their main picks. So the first one is Black Woods, Blue Sky by Erwin Ivey, Magical Realism. So, the quick take, the man she loves isn't who she thought he was, but deep in the Alaskan wilds, it may be too late to turn back. Has multiple viewpoints, salacious, rugged, and nature. Birdie's keeping it together. Of course she is. So she's a little hungover on her shifts, and she has to bring her daughter to the lodge while she waits tables, but Emmeline never goes hungry. It's a tough town to be a single mother, and Birdie just needs to get by. And then Bertie meets Arthur, who is quieter than most men but makes her want to listen, who is gentle with Emmeline and understands Bertie's fascination with the mountains in whose shadow they live. When Arthur asks Bertie and Emmeline to leave the lodge and make a home, just the 3 of them, in his off-grid cabin, Bertie's answer in a heartbeat is yes. I don't know if I would go off-grid cabin, depending on how long you've talked to each other, but out in the Alaskan wilderness, Bertie's days are harsher and richer than she ever imagined possible. Here she will feel truly at one with nature. Here she and Emmeline will learn the whole fearful truth about Arthur. See, calling it a fearful truth, I don't know, that doesn't sound very good to me. No content warnings. I am wondering maybe because it says magical realism and there's a bear on the cover, like maybe he turns into a bear. Oh, and there's a man shadow where the bear is. So he probably turns into a bear, I guess. But I don't know. I wouldn't go into an off-grid cabin with some guy, with my daughter. I don't know. Penitence by Kristen Koval is another one, contemporary fiction. It's a debut. Equal parts tragedy, mystery, and coming of age, a propulsive decades-long tale exploring the impact of forgiveness. Tragedy, I don't know. I'm not super interested in reading that in February. I don't know. I'm not in the headspace for that, but it has multiple viewpoints, non-linear timeline, graphic violence, and siblings. When a shocking murder occurs in the home of Angie and David Sheehan, their lives are shattered. Desperate to defend their family, they turn to small-town lawyer Martine Dumont for help, but Martine isn't just legal counsel. She's also the mother of Angie's first love, Julian, a now successful New York City criminal defense attorney. As Julian and Angie confront their shared past and long buried guilt from a tragic accident years ago, they must navigate their own culpability and the unresolved feelings between them. Spanning decades from the ski slopes of rural Colorado to the streets of post 9/11 New York City and back again, Kristen Koval's debut novel is an examination of the complexities of familial loyalty, the journey of redemption, and the profound experience of true forgiveness. Oh, this book does have content warnings. It says it depicts the death of a child and mentions of sexual assault. I don't know, that kind of sounds like heavy again, though. Next option is Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson, who's a repeat author, contemporary fiction. I do like the title, Good Dirt. This sounds interesting. A hopeful, multi-generational story about a woman's quest to unravel the family mystery that's haunted her for decades. It is emotional, nonlinear timeline, family drama, and international. I don't know, since it says emotional, that might still be kind of heavy, but it does say hopeful, so maybe it's good emotional. When 10-year-old Abby Freeman heard the gunshot, time stopped, and when she saw her brother Baz lying on the floor surrounded by the shattered pieces of a centuries-old jar, life as Abby knew it shattered as well. The crime was never solved, and because the Freemans were one of the only black families in a particularly well-to-do enclave of New England, the case has had an enduring voyeuristic pull for the public. The last thing the Freemans want is another media frenzy splashing their family across the papers, but when Ebby's high-profile romance falls apart without any explanation, that's exactly what they get. So Ebby flees to France, only for her past to follow her there. And as she tries to process what's happened, she begins to think about the other loss her family suffered on that day 18 years ago. the stoneware jar that had been in their family for generations, brought north by an enslaved ancestor. But little does she know that the handcrafted piece of pottery held more than just her family's history. It might also hold the key to unlocking her own future. That sounds interesting. This book contains scenes that depict a miscarriage and mentions of sexual assault. That kind of sounds heavy, but it does sound like an interesting choice. Let's see. Next is Famous Last Words, which is a thriller, early release by Gillian McAllister. On the book, it says, "One morning, he's your husband. By nightfall, he's a criminal." And these are his famous last words, I guess. After a woman's husband commits an act beyond belief, she is forced into a dizzying game of cat and mouse. Multiple viewpoints puzzle, action-packed, and marriage issues. See, I do like the action-packed, and that's a puzzle. That's caught my eye. It is June 21st, the longest day of the year, and new mother Camilla's life is about to change forever. After months of maternity leave, wow, months of maternity leave, not in the US. This cannot be taking place in the US. After months of maternity leave, she will drop her infant daughter off at daycare for the first time and return to her job as a literary agent, finally. But when she wakes, her husband Luke isn't there, and in his place is a cryptic note. Then it starts. Breaking news. There's a hostage situation developing in London. The police arrive and tell her Luke is involved, but he isn't a hostage. Her husband, doting father, eternal optimist, is the gunman. What she does next is crucial, because only she knows what the note he left behind that morning says. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. No content warnings. I don't know. Why isn't she telling the police what the note said? I don't know. I'm already intrigued by this, so I'll probably make this my book of the month, but let's see what other options there are. I can't read the small text on the title, but First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, which is a romance. I would normally read what's on the cover there in small text, but I cannot see what that is. Fed up with romance, so is Aiden, a love-weary radio host whose world is turned upside down by a charming single mom. 400 plus pages, that's pretty long for a romance. Movie-ish, light read, and salacious. See, movie-ish, though, I do like when it's like that, because I feel like I read it faster, if it's kind of like a movie. Aiden Valentine, okay, his last name is Valentine, interesting, has a secret. He's fallen out of love with love. And as the host of Baltimore's Romance Hotline, that's a bit of a problem. But when a young girl calls into the station asking for dating advice for her mom, the interview goes viral, thrusting Aiden and heartstrings into the limelight. Lucy Stone thought she was doing just fine. She has a good job, an incredible family, and a smart, slightly devious kid. But when all of Baltimore is suddenly scrutinizing her love life, or lack thereof, she begins to question if she's as happy as she believed. Oh. Maybe a little more romance wouldn't be such a bad thing. Everyone wants Lucy to find her happy ending, even the handsome, temperamental man calling the shots. But when sparks start to fly behind the scenes, Lucy must make the final decision between the radio-sponsored Happily Ever After or the man in the headphones next to her. See, I feel like this premise is a little sad, because she seemed like she was happy, maybe, in her life. Good job, incredible family, loves her kid. But now when everyone's scrutinizing her, she's like, was I ever happy? Maybe I need a significant other to be happy. I don't know. I don't exactly like the premise of that. No content warnings. I probably won't get that one. The Bones Beneath My Skin by T.J. Klune, which is a sci-fi. Action-packed and uplifting, an uncanny road trip adventure with cosmic reach and characters as warm as a cup of tea. LGBTQ plus themes, quirky, salacious, and cozy. Cozy sci-fi, which I don't think I've ever really heard of that before. There's nothing more human than a broken heart. In the spring of 1995, Nate Cartwright has lost everything. His parents are dead, his only brother wants nothing to do with him, and he's been fired from his job as a journalist in Washington, D.C. Oh, that's a lot to deal with. With nothing left to lose, he returns to his family's summer cabin outside the small mountain town of Roseland, Oregon, to try and find some sense of direction. The cabin should be empty. It's not. Inside is a man named Alex, and with him is an extraordinary 10-year-old girl who calls herself Artemis Darth Vader. That's an interesting name. Artemis, who isn't exactly as she appears. Soon it becomes clear that Nate must make a choice, let himself drown in the memories of his past, or fight for a future he never thought possible. Because the girl is special, and forces are descending upon them who want nothing more than to control her. What does she do? Also, who wants her? The government? Like, that sounds pretty interesting. Oh, content warnings? This book contains scenes that depict suicidal ideation and mentions of suicide. I don't know, does his books typically have content warnings? That does sound interesting. I would want to read this, but I'm not sure I want to buy it. Last option is A Season of Light, literary fiction by Julie Iromwanya. How far will we go for love? In this fervent, nail-biting family saga, the line between madness and devotion blurs. This book is highbrow. I don't always like highbrow. Multiple viewpoints, family drama, immigration, and war. Those also sound kind of heavy right now. Immigration and war. Let's see. When 276 schoolgirls are abducted from their school in Nigeria, Fidelis Erreich, a Florida-based barrister, poet, and former POW of the Nigerian Civil War, begins to go mad. Consumed by memories of his younger sister, Ugochi, who went missing during that conflict, and fearful that the same fate awaits Amara, his 16-year-old daughter, who bears an uncanny resemblance to Ugochi, Fidelis locks her in her bedroom and offers no explanation. That is kind of crazy to do that. As a result of that singular action, the Erreich family spirals into chaos. After unsuccessful attempts to free her daughter from her room, Fidelis's wife, Adaobi, seeks the counsel of a preacher, praying for spiritual liberation from the curse she is certain has plagued her family since leaving Nigeria. 14-year-old Chuck, beset by his own war with the neighborhood boys, receives a painful education on forced masculinity and his tenuous position within his family. And rebellious, resentful Amara is hungry for her life to be hers. So the moment she escapes her imprisonment, she falls in love, not with the Nigerian-born engineer in training her mother wanted, but with Maxim Caustic, the son of the town drunk. Before long, the two have concocted a plan to run away. But for all that they have endured, and for all that they're tempted to forsake, the Erreichs find that their bonds run deeper and stronger than they ever knew. This book does contain scenes depicting child abuse and domestic abuse and mentions of sexual assault. So, I don't know, this sounds pretty heavy. It does sound like probably a good ending. Could be a good read. I'm interested in reading it, but probably not buying it because it sounds a little too heavy for my February. I'm leaning towards Famous Last Words as my pick, but let's look at the add-ons as well, the new ones. Okay. So it seems like there's 8 new add-ons? So that's quite a lot. I might not read through all of them. Water Moon is the first newest one. Fantasy by Samantha Soto Yambao. Care to trade in your regrets or travel through different dimensions? Then step right into this dreamy fantasy world. Puzzle, quest, magical, and cozy. This has been on my list. I've saw it for what was coming up for this year, and I really want to read it. Like, I definitely will get this as an add-on if I do pick a February book to pick. Or even if I wait and pick something in March, I can still add this later. But I really want to read this. It sounds like so magical and dreamy. Like, yeah, I really want to read it. I guess I'll read through them, actually. On a back street in Tokyo lies a pawn shop, but not everyone can find it. Most will see a cozy ramen restaurant, and only the chosen ones, those who are lost, will find a place to pawn their life choices and deepest regrets. Hana Ishikawa wakes on her first morning as the pawn shop's new owner to find it ransacked, the shop's most precious acquisition stolen, and her father missing. And then into the shop stumbles a charming stranger, quite unlike its other customers, for he offers help instead of seeking it. Together, they must journey through a mystical world to find Hana's father and the stolen choice, by way of rain puddles, rides on paper cranes, the bridge between midnight and morning, and a night market in the clouds. Oh, see, that just sounds so dreamy. And that sounds exactly what I want for February. But as they get closer to the truth, Hana must reveal a secret of her own and risk making a choice that she will never be able to take back. Yeah, I'm definitely getting this. I wish this was a main pick, because if I want this, that means I have to pick one of the February main picks, but I'm sure I can pick one of them. There were a couple that seemed interesting. Let's see, It's Getting Hot in Here by Jane Costello, which is a romance. It does seem like there's more romance options for the add-ons. It makes sense that they didn't do all romance like for the February main picks. Let's see. Quick take. Hot flashes and a heartache have got nothing on a fabulous TV executive who falls in love with her gorgeous new coworker. Inspirational mama drama, female friendships, and enemies to lovers. I don't recommend dating coworkers though, but okay. Lisa Darling, a high-powered TV executive and twice divorced mother of two, is navigating life with an opinionated teenager and a pet-obsessed grade schooler, organizing PTA events and supporting her best friend through breast cancer treatment. That is a lot going on. It's no wonder that her to-do list is on overdrive and she never has time for Pilates or that DIY interior design project. When LA-based media hotshot Zach Russo swoops in as a stand-in for her best friend's job, Lisa starts feeling overheated and flustered. She's convinced her hormone replacement therapy needs some adjusting, until she finds herself in a sexy and seriously ill-advised clinch with him. As things snowball, Lisa has to ask herself what she really wants. Yeah, I don't recommend dating coworkers, but whatever. Okay, Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver, romance. This is the last book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. I want to read this so bad, but I don't necessarily want to like buy it and own it. But I just want to read it so bad. And I know if I try to do it through the library, I'm going to be like 300th in line. I'm not going to be able to read it. But I don't really want to buy it, but I do want to read it though. Expect exuberant levels of both love and gore in the sexy, squeamy, spicy finale from Bryn Weaver. And it is gruesome. Multiple viewpoints. This is the third in the series, which is the last book. Graphic violence, extra spicy. Um, okay. Dr. Fionn Kane is running from a broken heart, one he hopes to mend in small town Nebraska, far away from his almost fiancée and his derailed surgical career. It's a simpler life, head down, hard work, and absolutely no romantic relationships. He wants none of the circus he left behind in Boston. But then the real circus finds him. Motorcycle performer Rose Evans has spent a decade on the road with the Silveria Circus, and it suits her just fine. Especially when she has the urge to indulge in a little murder when she's not in the spotlight. Oh, so she's the murderer. I don't know. Honestly, I did not know out of the two of them which one would be the murderer, because neither of them makes sense, but I guess she makes the most sense beyond, like, versus the doctor. But when a kill goes awry and she ends up with a broken leg, Rose finds herself stuck in Nebraska at the home of the adorably nerdy town doctor. The problem is, not every broken heart can be sewn back together, and the longer you stay in one place, the more likely your ghosts will catch up. This book contains mentions of domestic abuse and sexual assault. So if you don't know this series, it's like a romance, but with serial killers. So like serial killers fall in love with each other. I mean, that was the first one. They were both killers. And then the second one, I mean, technically they were both killers, but one was more of a serial killer style. And I guess in this one, there's one that's a serial killer, Rose. But I don't know. Honestly, it's like I don't it's it's good though. It's good, I promise. If you could get past the gruesome imagery of the serial killer part, the romance is quite good. And I really want to read it, but I don't think I'm gonna buy it though. Another romance, Wedding Dashers, which is a debut by Heather McBreen. It says, "Here Comes the Bridal Party" at the top. In this exhilarating romp across Britain, a wedding may be the destination, but love is what happens along the way. International, enemies to lovers, salacious, and wedding. Ada's little sister is getting married, which should be a happy thought, right? But the once close sisters have been in a year-long fight. The wedding is all the way in Ireland, and Ada is so broke that she just barely managed to get a ticket on a budget airline. And as if things couldn't get worse, said airline just canceled her connection, which means Ada is stuck in London with no way to make it to the wedding. Surely she's hit rock bottom. So there's no reason for her not to spill her heart out about the over-the-top wedding, her sister's worryingly quick engagement, and the womanizing best man she's dreading meeting to a handsome, also stranded stranger at the bar. Until she realizes the stranger is headed to the same wedding. Oh, and he's the infamous best man. Now Jack and Ada must put their simmering attraction behind them to make it to Belfast before they miss the nuptials. But between flat tires, missed trains, and suspect hostels, Jack and Ada start to question whether their feelings are worth going the distance or just a distracting detour along the way. No content warnings. That kind of sounds cute. Out of all the romance ones so far, like that one kind of sounds the cutest. Kingdom of Claw by Demi Winters, which is a fantasy. This is the Ashen series' second book, which I did not read the first one. Follow a determined woman's quest to save her sister in this spellbinding sequel to The Road of Bones. 400 plus pages, salacious, multiple viewpoints, and the second in the series. I'm probably not gonna buy this, or I'm not that interested in reading the first one either. I mean, maybe eventually, but yeah, I'm probably not gonna buy this. So if you want to read this synopsis, you can on your own. But I'm gonna go to the next book. We All Live Here by Jojo Moyes, contemporary fiction. Jojo Moyes is back with a colorful cast and a crucial question: how can we find joy in the midst of crisis? 400 plus pages, writer's life, multiple viewpoints, and mama drama. Lila Kennedy has a lot on her plate: a broken marriage, 2 wayward daughters, a house that is falling apart, and an elderly stepfather who seems to have quietly moved in. Her career is in free fall, and her love life is complicated. So when her real dad, a man she has barely seen since he ran off to Hollywood 35 years ago, wow, suddenly appears on her doorstep, it feels like the final straw. Yeah, that would be. But it turns out even the family you thought you could never forgive might have something to teach about love and what it actually means to be family. That sounds kind of nice. No content warnings. Probably not gonna get that though. You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman, which is a romance. What's it say at the top? She can't stand him. He can't forget her. Oh, that's kind of maybe sweet. I'm not sure. To love or not to love, that is the question for 2 poets and former nemesis stuck together in an MFA program. Happy, writer's life, salacious, and enemies to lovers. See, happy I can get behind because I need that. And enemies to lovers, I do love that. So no one's more surprised than Leia when a prestigious MFA program in North Carolina accepts her. A former sorority girl, Leia's the first to admit she knows more about the lyrics of Taylor Swift than T.S. Eliot, and she's never been able to shake the all-style, no-substance feedback her high school crush made in their poetry workshop. Oh, that's sad. Leia's insecurities became all too real when Will, that same high school crush turned nemesis, shows up at orientation. Wow, from high school to this program, he's in that. That's crazy. And now he's William, exactly the kind of writer Leia hates, complete with his pretentious sweater vest and tattered moleskin. Leia's determined to prove herself, and William, wrong, by landing the program's highly coveted fellowship. But Will's dead set on proving himself too, and in a small cohort, they can't keep apart for long. When Will submits an intimate poem that's maybe, probably, definitely about Leia to workshop, they're both forced to realize there's more to the other than what's on the page, and what's between the lines may be even more interesting. Oh, I don't know. That one kind of sounds like the sweetest out of the choices, actually. I might get that. Oh, there's too many add-ons to pick. Last one is Rebel Witch. Says at the top, love has never been so deadly. This is the Crimson Moth series, book 2. The first one was Heartless Hunter. It's fantasy by Kristen Ciccarelli. I think that's how you say it. In this simmering follow up to Heartless Hunter, fierce warriors face an impossible decision between love and duty. 400 plus pages, salacious, multiple viewpoints, and second in series. I believe it's only going to be a duology, so it's only 2 books. I really want to read Heartless Hunter, so if you want to read the synopsis here, I'll put it on the screen for a little bit if you want to pause and read, but I don't want to read it because I think it will spoil some things, and I really do want to read the series, and I need to read the first book first. So that's the synopsis if you want to read that. But those are the new add-on choices. So I don't know. There's a lot. I definitely want Water Moon. I am thinking about buying Scythe and Sparrow just because I think it will be hard to get from the library at first, and I don't know if I really want to wait to read it. And You Between the Lines sounds really cute. Oh, and the cover's really cute, but I don't know if I want to buy it either. But to buy any of those, I have to pick a regular one, a main pick, maybe Famous Last Words. I'm kind of leaning towards that. But if you have Book of the Month, let me know what you're picking, if you're picking anything, or if you're skipping. And I hope everyone has a safe month, a productive month, a happy month. After how January has been, I hope February is better, at least for me. It's January was kind of rough, so I'm hoping February is the blue skies ahead that I really need. So, anyway, I will talk to you next month and have a happy month reading. See ya.